Hello, friends. Come over to Insight Timer to join our live discussion for today. See you in a moment. Hello. Great to see you. We will begin momentarily. I'm wondering if the chat is just lagging or if it's not working today. I really hope it's working because this is supposed to be an interactive experience today. Yes? Oh, good it is. Hi, Sib. Hi, Aaron. Wonderful. I'm so glad it's working. It was very slow on my end. Hi, Jason. Oh, thanks, Sib. Hmm. Well, may it radiate it out to you, my dear. Hey, Tammy. Great to see you. Nice new profile picture there. We'll wait a few more moments. Have our nice little community here. Ah. Mm, mm. No, not new. Well, actually, uh, Jason's asking if I have new artwork, and this one's not new, but this over here is a really beautiful picture of my beloved Saima, and that one is new. Yes, but that one is usually just probably covered up by my positioning. All right. Welcome, friends. It's such a joy to be together today. For anyone that I'm getting to meet for the first time, my name is Selena Layel. I have many recordings here on the app, a 10-day course, Yogic Practices for a Peaceful Life. I lead live sessions each week, generally this time on Mondays. And on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have a yoga asana practice, vinyasa yoga session. This week is our last regular week before I do a little bit of traveling. Next week we will be meeting on Monday per our regular time. Um, and then please keep your eyes on my live schedule, which you can find on my profile page because things are going to be at different times and we're going to switch things up for a few weeks while I'm traveling in different time zones. And then in a few weeks or in about a month, we'll be back to our regular schedule. If you're not part of our hey trajectory, if you're not paid, Julia, hi Siska, hi friends. If you're not part of our group on the app, I invite you to join us there. Love heals all. Hey Cindy. Yes, please feel free to say hi, friends. It's always so wonderful to know when you're here. Yes, our group is called Love Heals All. Love Heals All. So let's begin today with the centering technique. Scoot back a little bit so you can see me a little more clearly. We'll bring the hands together at the heart. And this is a wonderful ancient yogic technique that supports us to bring all of our energy, you could say, into alignment in our lives. We can experience getting mentally agitated and feel like we're being pulled over here or emotionally stirred up and we're all over the place, or maybe something's happening physically that makes us feel ungrounded. So the centering technique is a way to bring all of our energy into alignment and we feel this greater sense of balance inside. So I will mirror you. We'll all start with the right hand reaching up. So bring the hands together at the heart, Anjali Mudra. Inhale really slowly. Reach your right arm all the way up. Straighten the elbow if you can. Exhale as slowly as you can. Bring the hands to the heart. Now, for this next time, the bottom hand is going to move down while the top hand moves up. And of course, if you can't move your body, you can just visualize doing this. Inhale, reach the left arm all the way up. Right hand comes down by the navel, but the fingers point up. Exhale slowly all the way back to the heart, where the palms touch at the heart center. Inhale the right arm all the way up, straighten the elbow if you can. Left hand down by navel, fingers point up. Exhale like you're moving through honey all the way back to the heart. We'll do a couple more. Inhale, left arm all the way up, right hand down by the navel. Exhale slowly to the heart. And we'll do it one final time on the right side. Inhale, right arm all the way up, left hand down by navel. Exhale slowly to the heart center. Feel your palms touch. Close the eyes for a moment. Relax the face. Relax the jaw. Let it hang. Feel your belly softening. Your shoulders dropping back and down. And really bring your awareness to the sensation of your palms touching, your heart beating. Feel your feet. You can wiggle your toes a little and open the eyes. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So, this is a great technique that we can use anytime, all throughout the day, as many times as you wish to feel more centered. It's great to do before you start work, or before you're going to have an intense conversation, or before you're going to offer a presentation. Just a really quick way to get aligned and feel more balanced. All right. Hi, Anami. So, welcome, friends. Again, so happy to see all of you to be together. Oh, the centering technique, the Selena. No, very cute, Liz. Hi, Liz. The centering technique. So, hi, Eleonora. Welcome. Why are we here today? We're here to explore our different questions and curiosities. I know often when we are in live sessions, I don't get to all of the questions that are asked. Or maybe you've just been having a question in your mind that you'd like to ask today. We're going to open up this community conversation for our heart-centered explorations. And that might look like different things. Maybe you have some curiosities about your spiritual journey and something that you're experiencing or something that you'd like to experience. Maybe you are having challenge in a relationship and you'd like to find greater healing. So we will explore these different heart-centered questions today together. So feel free to share your question in the chat. And Sib is asking, why do we have pain? Hi, Kathy. Good morning. Hmm. Oh. Hmm. And I see your follow-up question here, Sib. Why do the good people get the roughest life and the worst of people get the easiest lives? Whew. Well, let's start with the pain question. First answer is I don't know. I don't know why we have pain. And then, of course, there are many things that I could use to answer. We experience pain because of responses in our bodies. Yes, messages are sent to the brain that cause a certain experience inside. We experience pain if we're experiencing emotional pain, because that's the nature of being a human being. We have all of these different experiences? I don't think we can't really answer that question. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with many reasons, right? Here's my follow-up question, Sib. What is the question behind that for you? What is the question that really arises that would make you ask, why do we have pain? And of course, we could take that, into a spiritual realm and say that that pain helps us to grow. Pain helps us to It can help us to awaken from the illusion of separation if we are able to face it. Again, there are just so many different things that I could say. Sometimes pain doesn't have any reason, at least in, the general sense. Sometimes pain is just pain. There's no meaning that we need to place on it. Although the meanings that we place on things as human beings, either give us a sense of solace or cause us to get upset. Or maybe there's a neutral ground as well. But the meaning that we place on things really often determines our sense of well being. So we can be curious about that too. What meaning am I placing on things in my life that is causing me to suffer, that are causing me to suffer? Yeah. So, Sid, think about that one. Yeah. Think about that. What's underneath that question? And then we're going to come to Sib's second question. Why do all the good people get the roughest life and the worst of the worst get the easiest lives? I'd first like to ask you, Sid, if you really believe that to be true. And I'm never here judging. And if anyone's kind of newer to our time together, please always take or leave everything I say. I'm not here feeling that you need to agree with me or believe me, or I'm not here to change your beliefs. Yes, you can kind of take what resonates with you and leave the rest behind. So I'd ask you, do you really believe that good people have terrible lives or really full lives full of hardship, and bad people, the worst of the worst, as you said, have easy lives? This is such a profound uh, topic to dive into. All of life is perception. All of our life experience is perception. How we experience the world is through our individual lens. How we experience our lives is through our individual lens. So often, the beliefs that we hold about the world or that we carry are learned beliefs, conditioning. We learn these beliefs from our parents or caregivers, our mentors. We learn them from our religious or spiritual communities. We learn them from our friends. We have these beliefs that we hold, and then we go on repeating them as if they're an absolute truth or that they're true, sometimes without even questioning them. I'm curious, Sib, if you've ever heard someone in your life, maybe your mom or someone in your life, say something along those lines. If you've ever heard in your life someone close to you, or maybe when you were younger, you heard someone close to you say those kinds of things. And maybe not. It's not always that direct. And I see you shared an answer here. You shared, sadly, I do believe it, but I'm working on changing my beliefs. Thank you, Selena. I will let others. Oh, thank you, love. Well, I wanna complete on this, and then we'll come to the other questions. Thank you. And that's okay. It's totally okay that you believe this to be true. I feel so much tenderness in my heart for you in that, because I know for me that when I carry beliefs that are like that, it usually hurts, right? If I look at the world as good people have hardships and bad people don't, it causes pain inside of me. So I feel tenderness in my heart for you. The reason I said this is profound for us to dive into is because there's so many layers here. First of all, there's the perception that there are good and bad people. Let's first come back for just a moment here, and I'll just touch on this a little bit. I could spend the entire time talking about this one question, so I'll do my best to make this a little more concise. Um, Again, coming back to this idea of everything is our individual perception. How many of you here know the experience? Maybe you had this experience in school or high school or something where there was someone that you went to school with who you perceived as having it all. I know this often kind of gets projected onto the popular kids or like the quarterback, or, of course, we all grew up in different environments, but we kind of had this idea. We look at people who are popular in school or who are shining in some way, and we think, oh, they've got it good, and sometimes the people who are total jerks that we went to school with, um, we were like, man, look, everyone loves them and they get all of this attention or all of this praise, and they're not even a nice person. Look at this person. They're not even that nice, and they're getting all of the opportunities, all of this. Anyone know that experience? Just drop an emoji for me if you know that experience, or give me some hearts, hit the heart thing or something, just so I know that you're here with me. And just to distill that, I'm asking if you have ever had the experience of viewing someone in your life who seemed to have all of the good things, but maybe they weren't the nicest person, but someone you knew personally, and you were like, "Oh man, look at me. I have the crappy end of the stick or the short end of the stick, and they have it all, and they're not even that good of a person." So, Sib, you can see here that other people know that experience. I know that experience. Yeah, of having that kind of judgment. But what I can tell you without a doubt is every single person has their struggles. Zero doubt in my mind. Every person has their struggles. That person that you might have seen at school or at work that seemed like they had everything great going for them, that doesn't mean that they don't have internal struggles that you don't see. Sometimes the people that seem so put together on the outside have the most difficult home lives, and that's why they've had to be so put together on the outside. And it's really easy to look at people doing harmful things and just label them as a bad person and leave it at that. It's kind of an easy out for us, right? If I look at someone doing a non good in the world and I just say that person's bad, they're evil, I'm being lazy. That's what it really is. I'm not using my emotional intelligence. I'm not using my capacity for understanding or education or knowledge or wisdom. I'm being lazy. And of course, it's not always that simple because many of us haven't been exposed to maybe the higher knowledge or emotional education that it requires to be able to have another perspective. So we don't need to judge ourselves in that. What I'm wanting to illustrate there, though, is there's always more to the story. That person who is maybe doing things that I deem as bad in the world or hurtful in the world, I do not know what pain they've gone through. And that's not to excuse them from their actions, not at all. It's not at all meant to say, oh, well, they went through pain, so it's okay what they're doing. No, 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 no. It's acknowledging that we're all in this human condition together. We're all in this human condition together. And again, coming back to perception, all of these things are relative, good, bad. Many of us could sit here and disagree on the idea of good and bad, a life of hardship, a life of not hardship. We could even disagree on some things like that. So it really is just about our perception and what we're choosing to believe about the world. And we can also ask ourselves this, because I could sit here the entire session and break this one idea down, this one concept down. But here's a question we could ask ourselves, because this is about us, right? This is about going in and finding greater understanding or freedom within ourselves, not just about understanding outside. So we can ask ourselves, what do I get from holding on to the belief that bad people get the good in life and good people always, get, whatever. They don't get the good in life. What am I getting out of holding on to that belief? Because I'm actually getting something out of it. And I invite anyone who can relate to this sharing that Sib has shared, this belief, to ask yourself that. What am I getting out of holding on to this belief? And Sib, we'll circle back later. I'd love to hear your experience later on. Thank you, Sib. All right. So now we are going to come back to some other questions. Um, and just for clarification, we're looking at heart-centered Q&A because we're going to look at things from through that lens, and I invite you to ask questions through that lens as well, if that makes sense for you. All right. Anami, I'm trying to find a way to put my experience concisely. Okay. Well, we'll wait to see what you come through with. Liz is sharing, I get tired of learning the lesson. Liz, I think we spoke about this before. Liz is sharing, I have a client that has a disabled son because of, oh, that just disappeared. I have a client that has a disabled son because of a car accident and then lost their home in the fires. Oh, you were sharing this in response to Sib's question. Um, okay. Maybe, Liz, are you asking about this getting tired of learning the lesson, or were you just offering a thought there? You can go ahead and respond there for me, please. But I'll move on in the meantime. Okay. I'm scrolling through the chat right now, my friends, if you're wondering what's happening over here. And I'm seeing Liz's comment here about somebody having a lot of money, but they maybe aren't a good person in your mind's eye. Um, Again, this comes back to relativity, you know. So many of us think that having money will make us happy. And granted, it does. It can offer a great sense of relief, from stress or different things, but money will not make you happy. It will not fulfill you. So it really is about perspective and the judgments we're holding that keep us trapped. Okay, Liz is saying let's move on there. Um, okay, wonderful, Sib. Hi, Anika. Okay, so actually I don't see any other questions. So the floor is open, my friends. What do you want to explore? What do you want to explore? Hi, welcome, Benjil. Beautiful. Ooh, okay, Anami, here we go. She says this as concise as possible. All right, and a reminder, if you're not an Insight Timer, come on over to Insight Timer so you can be part of this. Started seeing someone six-ish weeks ago. The first nearly 3 weeks were pretty wonderful. Not my first time in this rodeo, extremely well versed within this dating arena and with myself. He started being distant, feels as though things have reverted. I've addressed it with him last week. We've had some heavy conversations as of late. Seemingly stems from fear on his part, as I suspected. I'm all for going slow. Typically ask others to slow down, but my feelings have been regressing in my feeling whiplashed. I remember liking him, which seems indicative. Not sure which way to go with this. There seems to be quite a few pretty prominent differences, but I've spoken with thousands over the past decade, and it's been rather rare to encounter another whose mind and character I really appreciated and enjoyed. Though by the same token, don't desire to waste time as I've wasted enough on the wrong people and I'm about to be 33. Quite torn, feeling I'm not actually dating someone, feel I could be receiving better. Not sure whether to ride this out, as I remember thinking weeks ago I could fall in love with this man, but with fear influencing quite a bit on his end, or whether to keep it moving. Woo! All right, baby. Well, firstly, I know you're not alone in your experience. I think many people in their own ways can relate to that. So let's distill this. Thank you for sharing. Mm. It's all about you. It's all about you. What is happening in your mind that is attracting certain situations in your life? What is happening in your heart that is attracting certain situations in your life? What is happening in your energetic field that is attracting certain situations in your life? And this is such a fascinating and again, a profound topic that we could look at through so many different points of view and teachings. I mean, it's just so rich. We could spend weeks on this. Yes. This is where it starts, though. It starts with us. It If you're not already familiar with attachment styles, I invite you to look up attachment styles, and this is great for all of us to explore if we haven't already. Attachment styles look at our early development um, attachment to our primary caregiver and how that ultimately plays out in our relationships with others. And we often seem to attract people uh, with a different type of attachment style that causes that kind of cat and mouse experience. And there are different attachment styles, and sometimes there's more than one functioning. So, for example, one attachment style can be the avoidant attachment style, where maybe you want to be close with someone, but when you get close to them, you start to pull back, you start to avoid them. You're like, oh, this is just can't do this vulnerable thing here. I was enjoying this, but now I'm not because it's too much, right? Or maybe there's the anxious attachment style where you're like, oh, I don't want the love to go away. I don't want you to go. I need you to stay. I need you to stay. Often people holding those attachment styles find themselves with each other, and it's that, back and forth. And there are other attachment styles too. So I would say if you're not already familiar with attachment styles, check out attachment styles. Learn about yourself, learn about the types of people you're attracting. Ask the questions, what within me is attracting this in? And, you know, there's no one answer here. It's not black and white, at least as far as my understanding, experience, and education. Um, we can also look at the honeymoon phase of things. Honeymoon can last different lengths of time. Yeah. It's that initial time in a relationship where things feel like they're all good. All that serotonin and oxytocin is kicking from the brain and we feel uplifted, we feel, infatuated, or maybe even we're feeling like those love feelings and chemicals happening inside and we're really enjoying the other person. And then slowly it starts to change. And a couple of the reasons this starts to change, where we go from the, oh, I just adore you, I want to be around you, to like, where things just get a little sticky. One is because so many of us are not actually experiencing the other person as they are. And I don't even know if it'd be possible, at least not without a profound amount of work, to fully experience the other as they are, especially in the beginning, because we're experiencing our perception of them. So many of us get into dating or relationships where at first we have this image of the person. We have the image of them being, loving or kind or thoughtful or really passionate or strong, whatever it is. We have this image in our mind and we don't even realize it. We think that's how they are because that's how we're experiencing them. But we build up this image of them in our mind that may not actually be true at all. And then as time passes, we get to know that person more. Not only are we spending more time with them to see more about their personality, but we're also in maybe more intimate moments with them where we see the parts of themselves that they hid before. Maybe, like we're all like peacocking in the beginning of getting to know each other in a romantic situation. So most of us are putting on our best, the best of the best, right? We're showing our happy side, our sexy side, our whatever side, right? We're peacocking, attracting the other in. And then when the peacocking phase is over, ish gets real. And maybe those depressive habits start to come up, or the controlling habits start to come up, or the things that you were sacrificing before to attract the other in or to make it work, they start to be uncovered. So, this is one of the main reasons that relationships shift after that initial time period together, because the authenticity of the personality of both people starts to come to the surface. And also because of our perception. We often go into situations with perceptions of the other person not actually rooted in who they are, but who we want them to be. How many of you know the experience of starting to fall in love with someone and you have this vision of them and you're like, oh, I just love this way. And then you're like, I don't even know who you are. Like 6 months later, you're like, I don't know who you are. You're not who I thought you were. Yeah. Because you didn't know the person fully yet, and you had this disillusioned vision of who they were supposed to be, some fantasy of the kind of person you wanted to be with that wasn't honoring this person and all of their humanity, which is not perfect. None of us are perfect. So, Anami, please let me know if any of that is helpful. That may have been really redundant. You may already be present to these things, but these are the things I would look at, my love. These questions to ask yourself, recognizing how you are the primary source of what you're attracting in. Become familiar with your attachment styles, learn about attachment styles of others so you can kind of understand how that attraction is working. Yeah, Julia, permission to be human. Ah, all right. Thank you, Anami. Thank you. So, um, how are you feeling, my friends? Anami is sharing, nods head. Yeah, I've come to be cognizant of each of these over the years. The attraction styles I will look into. Okay, great, my love. Great. And, you know, it's not like I know some of us, especially in this kind of like self-development or spiritual path, we kind of beat ourselves up if our life doesn't look the way we want it to, like, oh, I'm doing this again. And although we are the creator, it's not always that easy. We're working with, deep unconscious things sometimes. So to be compassionate with ourselves and to be gentle with ourselves and curious, okay, here I am again, maybe for the 50th time. So what can I learn from it this time? And what did I not see before? What was I too afraid to look at before? Where have I been unwilling to grow or change because things felt scary or unknown. Okay, Angie, how to understand the voice that is the higher self, differentiating between self talk and higher self voice? Excellent question. First of all, I would say that if you ever hear a voice of um, judgment or beating yourself up, that is not the voice of the higher self. I feel that in my experience, the higher self can come through as like a strong voice sometimes, but there's never an energy of shame or guilt or wronging me. And if I feel that, then it's not the higher self. So that's one way that I differentiate that. Sometimes practicing positive or loving self talk can guide us into being able to hear the higher self more. I'm going to sit for just a moment here and see what the higher self has to say about answering your question. Let's do it that way. And we can all practice this. Practice just sitting still for a moment, turning your attention inward. Maybe you want to do the centering technique again as a way to kind of bring everything into center, realign yourself with your inner being. Take a full deep breath in and out. And imagine that in whatever maybe chaos or busyness might be happening in your mind, visualize or just imagine the feeling of there being a still lake inside, a quiet, silent lake. So still you can see the reflection of the clouds. And it's not a rigid silence, there's a gentle movement in the lake, but there's a deep stillness. And you may be having so many other thoughts and feelings coming up. That's okay. Let them be there. Imagine that they're all around this lake, but when you put your attention on the lake, there's a stillness. It's like the eye of the storm. And take a few deep breaths with your attention resting on this possibility of stillness inside. And then ask yourself a simple, clear question. A simple, clear question. And notice the voice that arises. Maybe at first there's a clear, quiet voice that doesn't feel emotional, but it's just like a presence. And then maybe right after that, there's an emotional voice that rises up. But just notice the clear answer you receive. See if you can distinguish the difference because many of us receive more than one answer or even conflicting answers when we ask deeper questions. See if there is a voice that is clear and another voice that is more emotional. And if there is more than one voice, one more emotional, one more quiet or clear, maybe one that you didn't trust as much, see what it feels like to lean into the clear voice. Lean into believing that answer. What does that feel like? And then if you heard a more emotional voice, turn your attention there and start to lean into what it feels like to believe that voice and notice what happens inside of you then. And then return your awareness back to this still place inside, this still lake, and open the eyes. Awesome, Aaron. Great. So, Angie, were you able to sense anything in that for yourself? Were you able to sense a quality of the voice you were looking to listen for? So often, we have these strong emotional responses, and we take those as being a a message. And although our emotions can be a guide, absolutely, and can be giving us messages, if we're really caught up in emotion, I don't find that that is the voice of the higher self. Doesn't mean it couldn't be repeating the higher self voice. Angie shared, I get clear answers before I even get to the end of my question. Okay, great. So the question is, those clear answers that you get, do they feel clear? Do they feel spacious? Do they feel like you're being held? Or are they clear answers that are like a punch of emotion? Welcome back, Belinda. Not yet. Okay, beautiful. So Angie's sharing no emotion, just clear. So you can start to develop this relationship with your higher self. Speak directly to your higher self regularly. Oh, my beloved higher self, thank you for helping me to receive your wisdom clearly. Thank you, my beloved higher self, for speaking through me. Thank you for seeing the world through my eyes. Thank you for letting me see the world through your eyes. Oh, my precious higher self, thank you for anchoring your presence in my whole being so I may experience the world as you. Oh, my dearest higher self, thank you for filling my mind with your clarity and wisdom. Thank you for filling my heart with your ever loving, expansive presence. Develop a relationship with your higher self. And you can find that clear voice. And if you find there's a really strong emotion that comes up when you're listening for the higher self, maybe tend to that part of you that's feeling reactive. Sit with that part of you. Ask it what it needs. Let yourself feel, and then find that still place. Come back and find that still place. Beautiful question. Thank you. And thank you, friends, for sharing your answers. Okay. Uh, Benjil shared, it asked, if you had one bit of advice for living a good life, what would it be? Oh, wow. What a beautiful question. Oh, one, just one. I'm so bad. If anyone asks me what my favorite something is, or I can never stop at one, but I'll do my best. If you had one bit of advice for living a good life, what would it be? To learn to be kind, loving, and accepting of yourself. My bit of advice for living a good life is to learn to be kind, loving, and accepting of yourself, to yourself, of yourself, because it all starts here. Our ability to be kind with other people starts with the kindness here. Our ability to forgive others starts here. Our ability to see the beauty of the world starts here. Our ability to experience healing, it starts here. Actually, there was this beautiful call. Maybe some of you were on it. with Saima's, one of Saima's addresses a couple of days ago. And someone asked, and for anyone who's unfamiliar with Saima is my beloved teacher of over 20 years. Someone asked Saima, they said, Saima, I can't remember the exact question, but it was either, how to end suffering or how to become awakened or enlightened, something like this. And Saima's response was to accept yourself just as you are. Can you imagine asking a master how to become enlightened and free from suffering? And the response is, accept you just as you are. And in my personal experience, that is the heart of it. That is the heart of freedom and living a rich life. Right here starts. Thanks for asking that. Ellen's asking, is it the higher self that suggests to us, guides us to ways that might improve our situations and lives to act on that sometimes feels scary? Uh, you're got it, Ellen. So you're asking if if it's the higher self that guides us to take steps towards something that would serve us greater, even if it feels scary. I would say, yeah. I would say, yeah. I think, you know, often we resist the unknown. We resist newness, even if it's something we really want. How many of you here have actually don't put emojis in the chat because I know you're raising your. Give me some hearts, but nothing, no emojis because then I'll lose all your questions. But give me some hearts if you have really wanted something at some point in your life and you finally had the opportunity to experience it and you were too scared to go for it. Maybe you finally like had an opportunity to perform and do something and it was just so scary you could barely do it or you didn't do it at all. Or you had the opportunity to finally date someone you wanted to date and you just couldn't do it because you were so scared. I mean, there's so many examples I could use here. Um, but that's what happens. We want something or we're guided to something that will transform our lives in a beautiful way. And then we get on that precipice of what we know and what we don't know. And it's so scary that we're like, oh, maybe not. So yeah, I would definitely say that the higher self is guiding us to evolve, to grow, to say yes to life. This life is so rich and beautiful and precious, and we're so often trapped in our conditioning and our thoughts and these stories that we play in our minds about the suffering that the world or we are experiencing. We get so caught in these stories that we miss out. So yeah, I experience the higher self as guiding us again and again, like holding our hands like a baby and just taking us. Beautiful. I like that. Sami's asking, what does my dream day look like? Depends on the day. Yeah. Some days my dream day looks like dancing for 3 or 4 hours, going to the ocean, swimming, eating great food, being with people I love. Sometimes it looks like sitting in a cave and meditating and being in silence, absolute stillness. So many different ways it can look. Mm. This is sharing higher self, feeling aligned with everything as it shows up and okay with the world, saying yes to the world 100%. Mm. 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 Yes, Sib, I was saying the hearts. Thank you. Thank you. Ellen is sharing, I think my higher self does, but emotions come up sometimes and cause me to procrastinate or to be stuck. It's like a sabotage. Yeah, love, exactly. Because, the brain, anything that's unfamiliar to the brain can show up as a threat. So that means even the things we really want We might respond to them as if they're a threat because they're so unknown. We don't have control. Right? So it's natural. We can be compassionate with ourselves and understand, as Simon often says, we have these antique brains. Yeah, so much of the brain is rooted in this antique conditioning, this outdated conditioning. So we be kind with ourselves. Oh, here I am again, you know, sabotaging because I'm afraid. So what can I do differently next time? What's one step that I could take that's different this time to have a different experience? What's one thing I could try that would be new that would support me? What's a new perspective I could play with taking on? What questions can you ask yourself to one accept that this has been the way of being as up until now and that's okay. And then to get, to be curious and say, okay, what who would I be if I wasn't afraid of trying this? What would my life look like if I called upon the courage to go for this? What's one small step I could take in the direction of what I want, even if it feels scary? Who could I reach out to as an accountability buddy to support me moving in this direction that I know I want to, even though it's scary? And it's not always black and white. I feel like as human beings, we often internalize these teachings and we take them on and we think about it like, okay, it's just this or just that. And it's got to be A or B or black and white. It's linear. And it's not linear. It's like this journey of unfolding of getting to know ourselves and understanding ourselves and life and the way we are with people and working through old traumas and wounds and healing. It's just this whole thing, whatever it is. So don't expect yourself to be linear. Maybe one day you feel courageous to do something, and then the next day you feel totally like just hiding in a ball. You're not going backwards. It's just this journey, this unfolding of you. The key here with all of these things, and I've just been inundating my mind with this information again. Put your attention, focus your attention intensely on what you want, not what you don't want. Intensely focus your attention, like laser beam focus on that which you're wanting, not what you don't want. And there's so many wonderful spiritual ways we can look at this, and we can also just look at it through the brain. And many of you have heard me speak on these things many times. But the subconscious takes the images of what we are thinking about and projects them into our life as reality and even creates them again and again. I was listening to something recently, it was great, and it said, if you want to know, if you want to know what you are thinking, look at how you're feeling. If you want to know what you are thinking, look at how you're feeling. And you might say, well, I know what I'm thinking, but often we don't. Often it's like and I'm not even speaking about the subconscious or unconscious mind. I'm talking about this layer right under the unconscious mind where there's this whole stream of thinking happening, but we're not aware that it's there. So if we want to know what's going on in our minds, we can look at how we're feeling. Okay, are you feeling really depressed today? Now, of course, that can be something biochemical happening, but are you feeling really anxious? Are you feeling really sad? Are you feeling really angry? And maybe there's something happening right there in that moment that is bringing that up, but this could even be applied then. Okay, what is that subtle stream of thinking that Selena's talking about that's actually igniting this emotion in me? It's deep. It's really deep. I mean, I've been doing this work for literally decades, and I still often catch myself repeating things in my mind, or, often the mind works through imagery. You have a thought and it creates an image in the mind, but these old images that I don't want to be there, are there. So the first step is always is awareness. I need to become aware. Oh, this is what I was thinking about. It's not what I want, but I was in that thinking pattern again. So awareness is the first step. And then Even though it can feel so difficult, I work with consciously shifting my focus. Now, for many of us, we've been focusing on, for example, a thought that says, nothing good ever happens to me. And our mind has this whole novel. This is not a novel. Well, it is a novel, but it has this whole book filled with experiences to prove that nothing good ever happens for us. And it goes through, and the mind will just, it'll say, it has the thought, it has the belief nothing good ever happens to me, and then it plays the images. Remember that thing that happened, remember that thing that happened, remember that thing that happened. And then our entire life experience is through this lens, but it's not reality. It's what I'm focusing on. So it's what I keep experiencing. So let's say I'm having that experience and I catch myself, oh dang, here I am. I keep repeating these images and these thoughts about how nothing good ever happens. And I'm caught right now. I am caught in a loop of pain. I am caught in a loop of suffering. I'm caught because of my focus. So what can I do? What could I shift my focus to? I'll give you a real-time example. Um, and it is just about time for us to finish. I want to get to at least one other question before we complete for today. We can go a little over for anyone who's available to stay a little longer today. I don't have a client right after today. Um, so I was, and I've shared similar stories here in our community before, but I basically recognized that partially based on experiences that I've had, and also partially just based on fears and fearful thoughts, that I was living with some kind of a thought pattern about how it was difficult to make friends in my lifestyle and at my age. And because I was, some part of my mind was believing that, I was also living in these images, not even aware of it. I wasn't even aware of it. The idea of making friendships would come up and the thought would pop up, oh, that's difficult. Maybe I wouldn't elaborate on it in the moment, but the immediate response was creating new friendships was, it's difficult. That's a belief. It's not a reality. I can go out and make 50 friends today if I really wanted to. It's a belief. So I was inside of this pattern, which is also in the brain, of it's difficult to make friends. And so whenever I would think about doing something, maybe putting myself in a social situation where I could make more friends, or trying something new where I could make more friends, or just being open to the possibility of randomly meeting someone and making friends, that thought was right there, but it's difficult. And so it's kind of like I would walk out into the world with these glasses on that said it's difficult to make friends. And I won't go into the brain science of that today, but I was basically blocking the opportunities available to me to make connections because I was living inside of that belief. And when I became aware that I was living inside of that belief, I recognized how much more could be possible and available to me if I started to shift my perception. But that first step is you got to become aware. Okay, okay. I'm holding on to a thought. It's creating images in the subconscious mind. It's creating images. The subconscious mind is taking those images in as reality. And then before I know it, that's my experience of life. So we got off on a Selena tangent there, but it definitely applies to everything here. Whether it's Anami's question about dating or Angie's question about the higher self or any of the questions today, what beliefs are you living inside of that are creating the experience that you're having? What thoughts are you entertaining on a daily basis that are recreating the experience that you're having? What are you telling yourself or about other people or about life that is constantly recreating the experience that you're having? It's phenomenal because this isn't just some, kind of, mm, uh, it, this is not just a concept. This is something that we're able to even look at in the brain. So, little side note there, my friends. So many good questions that are all coming in at the very end here, my friends. But I'm going to go back to look at the next question that was in the queue. Okay, let's see here. This is asking, do you believe in reincarnation, or is this just a way to handle the unknown? Oh, what a what a great question. Well, to first answer your question, I absolutely believe in reincarnation. And what's fascinating too, when we start to understand uh, yogic principles, we also understand that there's a science behind it all. There's a structure. It's not just a bunch of random beliefs. And it's I can't remember the exact way that I was reading about this and the breakdown of it. But in some ways, they were saying that yogic principles and practices are actually some of the most proven science on the planet because so many of the techniques that we use in the practice of yoga. And for anyone who's not really familiar, yoga is not just the physical practice, the asanas, it's not just stretching. Yoga is all of these different techniques and practices to help us awaken to our inner being to achieve this state of oneness that we naturally are, that we already are. So if you think about it, these techniques have been, in their own way, peer reviewed for thousands of years. These techniques are still used today because of how many millions of people over billions of people, I don't know, over thousands of years, how many people can be engaging in these different techniques have had tried and true experiences from them. But reincarnation is a bit of a different topic here. I do believe in reincarnation, and I'll just share my personal experience. First of all, Saima's teachings on different things really help to illuminate some of these concepts that may seem pretty far out there. For example, one of the ways that Ma speaks on reincarnation is that it's like a reset button. So, for example, let's say that I wanna I'll say this concisely because I'm still kind of integrating how Ma speaks on this, and I don't wanna misspeak, but basically, it's a reset. So, for example, let's say that we lived, eternally. Yes, let's say that we just were, immortal beings, which of our energy is, but not these bodies. Let's say that at the beginning of that experience, it was just absolute trauma and atrocious and awful and terrible. And then you live for 10,000 years with maybe unresolved, stuff that was developmental in the beginning of your incarnation, in the beginning of your life. So reincarnation or death is actually like a reset. If you look at reincarnation from this perspective, where we have this opportunity to forget and come back to the experience again with a fresh opportunity. Now, of course, when we look at reincarnation, we're also looking at the wheel of karma, and there's so many other things that we can look at. I'm not going to get into a breakdown of reincarnation. Um, but what I experience is this: how to put the infinite into words. I know that I don't know anything. I know that I don't know anything. And anything that I want to know is a desire to know something. Meaning, yes, I believe in reincarnation. Yes, I believe in many profound spiritual teachings and esoteric teachings about the nature of this existence. And at the same time, so many of these teachings are through the lens of duality, separation. Body here, soul here, you there, me here, plant here, person here, earth here, sky here. It's this beautiful play, this beautiful Maya, this dream of the play of experience. So, in that sense, whatever beliefs we take on about the spiritual nature or the nature of creation, may they be beliefs that serve us, that support us, that uplift us, because our beliefs are creating our life experience. If we're going to hold beliefs, why not put our attention on holding beliefs that better our experience of our lives? So here's this one perspective that in my beliefs, yes, reincarnation exists and these bodies do not live forever, but the energy that we are, the source energy that we are all one, takes birth different times. And there's an experience that I have when I let go. It's the only way I know how to speak on this. It's like a surrender and a letting go. And when I let go, the first thing that arises is I don't know anything. And the other thing that arises is this slate of infinite space, not space that is defined by this and that, but just infinite emptiness and fullness. And this is as close as my tiny little mind can come to understanding non duality, the absolute. It's not something that I feel truly can be spoken on or understood or articulated because it is so far beyond anything the intellect can comprehend. So that wasn't a direct answer. Well, maybe it was, at least stating that I believe in reincarnation. Would be curious, is this what you received from my response? If that satiated your desire to hear an answer to that question. Okay, my beloved. So I'm just going to take a couple more minutes and then we'll complete. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for supporting me and my work in the world. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you, Anami. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, Adela is asking how to surrender. How can we practice it? We'll end on this one for today. One way that I've attempted, because I don't think there's a, I mean, I don't know, maybe there is a practice of surrender, but it's kind of like surrender or no surrender. But I think something that can guide us towards surrender is our attention. So, for example, many of you have heard me share for many years, one of my prayers or my affirmations has been grant me the grace of surrender. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Also, to recognize that anytime I'm in an experience of needing to control, needing for things to be a certain way, in an experience of having expectations, basically in any experience that keeps me bound by emotions and thought, that I'm not free in that moment, that I'm absolutely not surrendered. I'm striving, I'm trying to control, I'm in egoic consciousness, that limited small self that identifies with itself through fear. So I become aware I'm in this contracted state. Oh, beloved, grant me the grace of surrender. Grant me the grace of surrender. And when I become aware, I can also make the decision to stop fighting. That can also be a movement towards surrender. Oh, here I am resisting life. Here I am judging others. Here I am judging myself. Here I am trying to control. How can I practice letting go? Sometimes I know for some of us, the word God doesn't resonate, so you may wish to use a different word. Maybe the word is life or source or creator or something else. But sometimes for me, it's just about talking to God, giving it all to God, to source, just to give it all, to give all the pain, to give all the confusion, all the feelings of being lost, all the feelings of trying to control, that intense need to be right that keeps us separate from others, that intense need to be better than all of these things. God, please take this need to be righteous, take this pain, take this judgment that keeps me separate from others. Cultivate a relationship with the beloved and just say again and again, I am yours. I am yours. And when we really start to get in touch with that feeling of how much we fight and resist life, we recognize how much that is the root of our suffering. And in the moments that we can actually have that experience of, ah, I'm really suffering right now. And I can really feel that I'm striving and resisting life. And maybe it seems like you're resisting a person or resisting a situation, but there's that resistance inside. And to just say, I don't want to fight anymore. I just don't want to fight anymore. And I say those words as an expression. You know, obviously, the more we say, I don't want something, the more that all of our attention is going to that thing we don't want. So I mean it more as like an energetic expression, like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to just release this, to open myself. Because holding on to the need to be right or whatever I'm holding on to is just too painful. It's just not worth it. That's my journey of the path to surrender. It's just not worth it to hold on to all of this pettiness and all of these things that make me feel safe. My ego's way of needing to be right or whatever it is. It's just not worth it. And of course, there are many other techniques that we can use, cultivating our meditation practice to be still, cultivating a kind relationship with ourselves, to practice acceptance of ourselves and the world, many, many other things. Thanks, friends. Anami is sharing, Selena, could you please repeat the phrase something along the lines of grant me the ability to succumb? Yes. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Thank you for granting me the grace of surrender. Mm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We'll come to a completion now. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for sharing your questions, your time, your heart, your presence. Come join us in our circle. Love heals all. Our next live is tomorrow for Vinyasa Yoga at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll be together again next Monday to join in our conversation about embracing the ego. And that will also be a little bit more of a Q&A session. So we'll have an opportunity to really be with each other in community as we explore embracing ego. Thank you again for your donations. Oh, thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think that's all for today. Enjoy. If I'm able to extract the audio from this, I'll let you all know in our group and post a recording of it. It's always hard to go. Love you. See you next time. Thank you. Hmm.